Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Voice.
Today, we're taking a close look at Chapter 11 of The Fellowship of the Ring.
A knife in the dark.
Yeah, a knife in the dark. And,
Things get real.
they do. This is where the story takes a bit of a turn, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. We go from the Shire, this peaceful,
Idyllic.
yes, idyllic
Yeah.
place, to a much darker, more dangerous feel.
And it happens so quickly. 1 minute, the hobbits are enjoying their second breakfast, and the next, they're running for their lives.
It's a brilliant shift in tone. Tolkien really ratchets up the tension in this chapter.
I think that attack on Crick Hollow, where the Black Riders nearly catch Fatty Bolger,
Oh, yeah, that's a crucial moment.
it really shows that nowhere is safe, not even the Shire.
Right. It shatters this illusion of safety. It underscores how far Sauron's reach extends.
It's a wake-up call for the hobbits and for the reader. This isn't just a fun adventure anymore. This is serious business.
Yeah, the stakes are raised significantly, and we see Strider really stepping up to the challenge, too.
Oh, absolutely. He becomes so much more than just a guide in this chapter.
He's a protector, a leader, and his knowledge.
It's impressive. He seems to know so much about the Black Riders, about the ring.
And even the story he chooses to tell the Hobbits, the tale of Beren and Luthien.
That's not just a random story, is it?
No, definitely not. Think about it. A mortal man and an elf princess overcoming incredible odds to achieve the impossible.
It's a story about hope, about love, and about courage in the face of darkness.
And it directly foreshadows Aragorn's own lineage and his destiny.
Wow, I never thought about it like that before. It's like Tolkien is subtly weaving in these threads of hope and destiny, even as the danger intensifies.
Exactly. And as the Hobbits journey towards Weathertop, you can feel that tension building.
The way Tolkien describes the landscape.
Those lonely hills, the sense of being watched.
It's almost like the land itself is reflecting the growing threat they face.
And then there's a decision to climb Weathertop.
A strategic choice, but also a risky one,
Definitely a gamble.
putting them in a very exposed position.
But Strider, he knows he needs to gain a vantage point to assess the situation.
And then, of course, the Black Riders appear. And this time,
It's terrifying.
it's not just shadowy figures anymore. We see them, we feel their presence.
that chilling cold.
Yeah, it's like they bring a piece of Sauron's icy malice with them.
They're not just pursuers anymore. They're a tangible, terrifying threat.
This encounter on Weathertop is visceral, immediate, and utterly chilling.
And then that pivotal moment
When Frodo puts on the ring,
and is stabbed by the Morgul Blade.
oh, that scene. It sends shivers down my spine every time I read it.
That wound, it's not just a physical injury. It's so much more than that.
You're saying it's like a spiritual wound.
Exactly. It's a shadow that's going to linger, that's going to affect Frodo deeply.
It's almost like the blade itself carries a piece of Sauron's evil.
It foreshadows the corrosive influence the ring will have on Frodo.
So even though Strider drives the riders off,
And tends to Frodo's wound with amazing skill, might I add.
yes, he does. But even so, the chapter ends with this feeling of uncertainty.
Frodo's fate is unclear.
The wound.
It's ticking time bomb, essentially.
And the Black Riders, well, they're still out there.
Relentless in their pursuit. Tolkien leaves us hanging, wondering what's going to happen next.
Yeah, A Knife in the Dark really is a game changer in the Fellowship of the Ring. It takes the story to a whole new level of intensity and sets the stage for all that's to come.
And we'll dive into all of that in part 2 of our deep dive.
So we left off with Frodo.
Bearing that wound.
Yeah, that wound from the Morgul Blade. It's more than just a flesh wound, right?
Oh, definitely. It's a spiritual attack, a shadow that's going to follow him.
I'm really struck by how Tolkien uses this wound to foreshadow
Yeah.
the struggles Frodo will face as the ring bearer.
It's such a powerful symbol, isn't it? Like, this wound will keep coming back,
Yeah.
weakening him just like the ring will tempt him.
It's like a physical manifestation of that unseen battle he's fighting against the ring's power.
Exactly. And this is where the theme of fellowship becomes so important.
Oh, absolutely. Frodo doesn't have to face this alone.
Right. He has his companions, and their bonds will be tested too.
It's like Tolkien is saying that, in the face of such darkness, we need each other.
We need that support, that strength
Right.
from others.
Exactly. So we've got this wounded hero, Frodo, on this incredibly dangerous quest, and he's got his friends by his side.
It's a classic story setup, but Tolkien takes it to a whole other level.
I mean, the Hobbits, they started out so innocent,
Yeah, they were naive almost.
But now they're seeing the true cost of their mission.
Their innocence has been shattered.
That loss of innocence is a big theme in Tolkien's work, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. I think it reflects some of the anxieties of his time, the disillusionment that followed World War I.
Yeah, Tolkien himself experienced that war
It
firsthand.
definitely shaped his writing.
The Shire, at the beginning, it represents this kind of pre-war innocence.
Yeah, a world untouched by the horrors that are happening outside its borders.
And now, that darkness has invaded their haven.
Right, they're being forced to grow up to confront the realities of a world at war.
And you wonder, can that innocence ever be truly recovered?
That's a great question, isn't it?
Now, I want to go back to the Black Riders for a minute,
Ooh, yes.
because they are terrifying in this chapter. Tolkien really gives us a sense of their
power.
true nature, yeah. I mean, the way he describes their spectral forms, that chilling cold.
Ugh, it's like a piece of death itself.
And to think they were once kings of men.
Right. Seduced and twisted by the rings of power.
It's a cautionary tale, isn't it? About the dangers of ambition, of letting power corrupt you. And it makes their presence even more creepy, knowing they were once human.
It speaks to how insidious evil can be. It can twist even the most noble intentions.
It's like they represent the opposite of Strider in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
Like the Black Riders are slaves to Sauron's will, but Strider,
He chooses to fight for good.
he chooses compassion, service.
It highlights this theme of choice, that even in the face of darkness, we still have the power to choose our path.
The Black Riders chose to succumb to the ring's allure, but Strider chooses to resist. And that brings us back to the title of the chapter, A Knife in the Dark.
Such a perfect title.
It captures that feeling of sudden, unexpected betrayal.
Right. It works on so many levels.
On the surface, it's the literal attack on Weathertop.
But it also speaks to those deeper themes, the loss of innocence, the lurking threat of evil,
It's a reminder that danger can come from anywhere, at any time.
and that even in the darkest moments, we still have choices to make.
We can succumb to the darkness, or we can fight for the light.
And that choice, that's what defines heroism in Tolkien's world.
So we've explored the symbolism of the wound, the theme of fellowship, the contrast between the Black Riders and Strider.
And the many layers of meaning in the chapter's title.
I think it's safe to say that A Knife in the Dark is not just a pivotal chapter in the Fellowship of the Ring, but a microcosm of the larger themes that Tolkien explores throughout the entire book.
Absolutely. It's a chapter that really makes you think,
And that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive. Ready to move on to the final part.
Let's do it.
We've talked about the wound and the Black Riders, but you know what really stands out to me?
What's that?
Strider. I mean, he's just so, I don't know, compelling in this chapter.
Oh, he definitely comes into his own here, doesn't he? You start to see the hero he's meant to be.
Yeah, like at first he was just this gruff, mysterious ranger, but now we're seeing his leadership, his compassion.
Tolkien really starts to peel back those layers and show us the depth of his character.
And that story he tells, the tale of Beren and Luthien, I mean, it's not just a random story, right?
It's a story about hope, about love triumphing over darkness, and it directly ties into Aragorn's own ancestry, foreshadowing his destiny.
It's like Tolkien is saying, even in this moment of darkness, even when things seem hopeless, there's always a chance for light to shine through.
Exactly. And that connection to the past, to the ancient heroes of Middle-earth, it reminds us that the fight against evil is an ongoing struggle.
Like they're all part of something bigger than themselves.
And Strider, he carries that legacy, that weight of history on his shoulders.
And he does it with such humility, such quiet strength.
Think about the contrast between him and the Black Riders, They're driven by fear and domination, while Strider is guided by something much deeper.
Compassion, a sense of duty, yeah. It really highlights the difference between true leadership and, like, the corrupting influence of power.
Because even though the Black Riders were once kings, they let themselves be consumed by darkness.
In Strider, he faces that same darkness, that same temptation, but he chooses to resist.
That's what makes him such a powerful symbol of hope.
Yeah, and it makes his role as a protector and guide so important, especially for the hobbits.
They're just simple folk thrust into this world of unimaginable danger.
They need someone like Strider, someone who can lead them and teach them and protect them.
It's the perfect setup for the fellowship that's about to form, each member bringing their own strengths, their own weaknesses.
Exactly. They need each other to survive, to face the challenges ahead.
And A Knife in the Dark, with all its darkness and danger, it's what brings them together.
It's like a catalyst for their growth, for their transformation.
They're no longer just innocent travelers. They're becoming, heroes in their own right.
And Strider, he's the one who guides them on that path.
Reminding them that even in the face of despair, courage and compassion can prevail.
Well, I think we've successfully navigated our way through A Knife in the Dark, haven't we?
I think so. We've explored a lot of fascinating themes and symbolism.
And we've seen how this chapter really sets the stage for all the incredible adventures that await the Fellowship.
It's a chapter that stays with you long after you've finished reading it, you know?
Absolutely. Tolkien's work has a way of doing that. So until our next deep dive, keep exploring those hidden depths and let the spirit of adventure guide you.
Me